Steelers Jets Sunday Night Football coming your way. Steelers 2.5-point dogs at home in a battle of two old men. Now, Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby showed us the other night. Doesn't matter how old you are if you can get it done. It's Aaron Rodgers v. Russell Wilson in this one, or at least that's what we're all expecting. And joining us now to discuss is Chris Carter of the Post-Gazette. He's on the Fan Hotline, presented by Sullivan Super Service, providing trusted plumbing and HVAC service for over 50 years. You ever seen that meme? I don't know if it's a meme. It's a GIF on social media, Doran. Of
GIF?
Oh. I thought it was a GIF.
I thought it was a GIF.
I thought it was soft G.
Oh. That was
Here we go.
Doran is correct.
He said, here we
The
go.
G stands for graphic.
It starts as soon.
What were you going to say? Sorry.
I was going to say that Chris Carter is the GIF of Jon Snow in the Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones, just pulling his sword out and facing an entire army by himself on social media the last few days. Carter, you've been breaking down the film. Just how much has Justin Fields left on the table in your mind in the passing game?
It's been a good deal. And here's the thing. It's so funny. On social media, there's often this thing where you say you really like pancakes, and someone will come and say, "Oh, so you hate waffles?" And that's what I feel happens every time I bring up, "Hey, I think Justin Fields could be better in this department." "Oh, so you just must hate him, really?" And I'm like, actually, no. I actually really enjoy talking to Justin Fields. I actually think that he has a lot of potential. But I think that if you're looking for a reason for why the Steelers are considering Russell Wilson as an option, it's because he hasn't been able to hit consistently the reads they've set up in downfield passing. And I think it's especially been that case in the last two games. I did a film study after the Cowboys game showing that, hey, a lot of people were saying that the Steelers were way too conservative in their play calling. Arthur Smith saying that. But then you look at the All-22, and they were calling a lot of plays to go downfield. There were guys breaking downfield, and they just weren't getting targeted. Then after this week, you look at his play-action passing stats. Justin Fields going into this week has been given the fifth most play-action pass plays of all NFL quarterbacks, but ranked like 32nd in yards per attempt on those passes. And he was averaging an average depth per target on those passes of around 5 yards per pass. So, like, he's not – when you hit play action, you need to be hitting the tight end 10, 15, 20 yards downfield. And you won't hit every play, but you need to average a little bit further than that. Like, even if it was 7 or 8 yards, that would be a better sign, because I would show, like, hey, he's hitting guys, further downfield, and it's resulting in more yards. And that's where I think the Steelers would like to see more from Justin Fields. Now, are the Steelers telling Justin Fields absolutely take no shots, at no times, be ultra conservative? I'm sure they're saying protect the football, but I have a hard time seeing them saying, hey, Justin, we're going to drop this play-action play where Calvin Austin is going to be wide open in this situation, 20 yards downfield. Don't look at him. I don't care what anyone tells you. Don't look at him. Just throw to the check down underneath. And I think that's where they're hoping that Russell Wilson will capitalize and make more plays. But again, as I've said several times over and will continue to say, I'm not sure that if Russell Wilson does consistently hit those plays. And if he doesn't, I think that Justin Fields is the right call. But that's what the Steelers have to see for themselves this Sunday night.
Well, Chris, it's not just about what Justin Fields hasn't been able to do. It's a lot about what they think Russell Wilson can do.
Yes.
And you said a little bit of that right there. What can Russell Wilson do? Like, why in their mind do they think that this is the decision to make right now and the right decision with Russell Wilson being the quarterback? What can he do to make this look different and make it look better?
I think one thing that Russell Wilson can do, and some people will say, well, he hasn't done this recently with the Broncos, is anticipate throws more often, understand where defenses are, and anticipate when to attack them. And that's one of my points with my film study. It's not just that there's guys open. It's that it appears, and again, I can't know the exact play call and what the names of the plays are and everything that's going on all the times and the progressions, but it appears just with the way some of these routes are attacking different defenses that Arthur Smith is at least anticipating the different coverages they're getting. Like there's times when they get cover 3 and they consistently get cover 3 beaters, like guys heading down the seam. When they're in cover 2, guys hitting the middle part of the field in between the safeties, or forcing the underneath zone corner to choose. Do you want to cover the underneath? Do you want to cover the over top, because the safety has to stay behind the play? And in those situations, Justin isn't anticipating it. And it's funny, I post some of these plays online and people are saying, well, wait a second, the corner, he sees the play, he's going to jump that. And like, well, but the corner's 10 to 15 yards away. And if the throw is made with anticipation, as you'd expect an NFL quarterback to do, and thrown accurately, he wouldn't be able to, because it'd be thrown while the receiver's going into his break, and that would lead to a throw there. That's what they're hoping Russell Wilson can do, because they're expecting him as an NFL quarterback, as a 13th year player, as a 9-year Pro Bowler, as a Super Bowl champion, as a guy who has been through this league so many times, that he's going to be able to play that style of ball more to their script than a fourth year guy like Justin Fields. That's what they're banking on. But again, like you're saying, Doran, he's got to prove he can do that, because he does not have the X factor abilities that Justin Fields does, where I'd say once every 15 or so plays, you'll see Justin Fields just spin out of a play, be faster than everybody, or launch a laser that's like, wow, okay, that's the arm that you see. That's why he's a first-round pick. I think that's the thing the Steelers are going to have to balance with this decision.
Fan Morning Show is brought to you by Guardian Protection, your hometown home and business security company. Sometimes you have a guest on, you ask a question, and you think you know the answer. I don't know what Chris is going to say to this question.
Uh-oh.
Offensive line issues. Young, banged up, influx, throwing a different unit out there again, which has been really the theme of the season for that unit. What do you say to the people who think that Russ will get killed back there because he doesn't have that kind of same level of escapability?
I think it's definitely a concern. I don't think it's a non-question. I think it's actually a good question. But I also think when you go back and you look at last year's offensive line that was still figuring it out, when they threw Mason Rudolph out there, he's not as mobile as Justin Fields, and he was able to score 30 points in back-to-back games. And I think that, certainly Zach Frazier's injury is a big hit, and we got to see how Ryan McCollum plays over a whole game, and he's going to have Quinnen Williams in his face a lot this game, and that's going to be a matchup that could go against the Steelers in a bad way. But I also think that part of what happens there is Russell Wilson, as the veteran quarterback, is going to also be able to see things coming a little bit faster and get the ball out a little bit quicker. Kind of like you saw Joe Flacco do for the Colts a few weeks ago. Joe Flacco is not nearly as mobile as Anthony Richardson, but you know what he knows how to do? He knows, hey, the plan is get the ball out. Like that's what the plan was that week. I think that Russell Wilson can play to that script a little bit better, even if that has not been the majority of his career. A lot of Russell's career has been magic. Russ is just let me run around, spin around, hold the ball, and here's a moon ball. And he does ridiculous things that way. But there's also times where he has played on a shorter leash and a bit of a shorter script, just not that often. And I think that's what the Steelers have to show, that he can do that. And if he does do that within their system, that could open things up. Because here's the thing, you start hitting you start hitting that anticipated, Connor Hayward, seam pass off a tight end that gets you 10 to 12 yards. You start hitting that Calvin Austin corner route instead of the underneath flat route that gets you 20 yards. Then on first down, when you're coming out in the 12 personnel formation, and teams can't press the box as much because they're like, hold on a second, Russell Wilson might be hitting us with another Pat Freiermuth pass, or Darnell Washington could be over here getting big yards, or George Pickens could be getting a target here. We have to play back a little bit. We can't make our first, second, and third steps towards the line of scrimmage to stop the run. Then the run game opens up a little bit more. Then you have that balance that I think the Steelers always wanted in this offense. And that's where I think that if Russell Wilson can do that, a lot more things open up for the Steelers.
I think we can agree that this is a must-win game for the Jets, but is it a must-win game for the Steelers?
You always like to say that, like you don't want to go into like every game's must-win. Is like Pat Narduzzi says, we'll go 1-0 every week. I don't think it's a must-win game for the Steelers, simply because I think that there are more winnable games on their schedule, many more winnable games on their schedule, especially with how some of the AFC North teams are playing right now. But that being said, this is a lot where you were last year. They were 4-2. They were playing the Jaguars at home, a winnable game, and they didn't get it done. And if they had won that game in 5-2, what does that set up for the rest of the year? And you think back to some of the opportunities they had last year, like when they were, I think they were 6-4 when they started their losing streak to the Patriots, the Cardinals, and the Colts. That fell them down to 6-7, and then they had to rally at the end of the season to get to 10-7. I think that's what the records were. You can't say at this point in time that it's the must-win game of the season unless it's just your hunch. But I do feel like it is a major opportunity to go up 5-2 in the division. That Monday Night Football game for the Ravens is a tough one. The Buccaneers are no slouches, and if you got a favor from Baker Mayfield against Lamar Jackson, you have a chance to get your division lead back on the Ravens. And any win right now that keeps giving you an edge over your divisional opponents, it's helpful. So is it must win? No, but it's certainly, I'd say that you're on DEFCON 3 here if you're the Steelers, if that's a fair comparison.
Sure, why not? Chris, really good stuff, man. Awesome film breakdown. Love what you're doing on Twitter to the hoi polloi out there too. So thank you for all of your service, and we appreciate your time.
Yes.
Thanks, fellas. Check out Skylights highlights tonight on Channel 11. We got all of the high school football highlights with Jenna Harner.
Look at that. You get a plug in there. A little plug.
Plug it.
Thank you, Carter.
Thanks, Chris.
See you,
Thank
buddy.
you.
He's one of the best.
Yep.
Chris Carter brings the energy, has the knowledge. Love his breakdowns.